If you're always alone, people might assume something is wrong. Maybe they think you're shy. Maybe they think you struggle socially. Maybe they think you're lonely. But what if the opposite is true? What if the reason you spend so much time alone is actually because your mind works differently from most people? Psychology shows that people who naturally gravitate towards solitude often possess certain rare psychological strengths. These traits are frequently misunderstood, because our world celebrates constant connection, noise, and social activity. But quiet minds often carry deeper power. If you find yourself spending a lot of time alone, by choice or by nature, you might recognize these 4 rare strengths. Number 1. You have an unusually high level of self-awareness. Research in personality psychology suggests that people who regularly spend time alone tend to engage in more self-reflection. When you're not constantly surrounded by conversation, your mind turns inward, and that's where self-awareness grows. While others may move quickly from distraction to distraction, you naturally take time to think about your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. You notice patterns in yourself. You question your reactions. You replay conversations in your mind, not because you're insecure, but because you're trying to understand. For example, after a disagreement, many people simply move on or blame the other person. But someone who is comfortable being alone might sit quietly and ask themselves, "Why did that affect me so much?" Or, "Was there something I could have handled differently?" Psychology shows that this kind of reflective thinking strengthens emotional intelligence. Over time, it allows you to understand not only yourself, but other people as well. So while others might see your solitude as distance, it may actually be the space where your deepest understanding develops. Number 2, you have a strong inner world. People who spend time alone often develop incredibly rich inner lives. When you're not constantly stimulated by outside noise, your imagination becomes active. Your mind begins connecting ideas, memories, and possibilities. Research on creativity consistently shows that many creative breakthroughs happen in moments of solitude. When the brain is free from social pressure, it starts exploring new thoughts more freely. That's why some of the most creative thinkers in history spent long periods alone. When you walk alone, drive alone, or sit quietly with your thoughts, your brain often wanders into places others rarely visit. You imagine scenarios. You analyze life. You create stories, ideas, and insights. For example, while someone else might feel uncomfortable sitting quietly at a cafe by themselves, you might actually enjoy observing the world around you, noticing subtle details in people and environments. Your mind turns those observations into meaning, and that rich internal landscape becomes a source of creativity, insight, and depth. What others call being alone, for you may actually be where your mind feels most alive. Number 3, you are highly selective about relationships. People who prefer solitude are rarely antisocial. They're selective. Psychological research on social satisfaction shows that people who value solitude often prioritize depth over quantity in their relationships. Instead of surrounding yourself with dozens of acquaintances, you naturally look for a few meaningful connections. You want conversations that matter. You want honesty. You want authenticity. And because of that, you may spend long stretches of time alone, not because you can't find people, but because you're unwilling to fill your life with shallow interactions. For example, you might turn down social events that feel forced or draining, choosing instead to spend time with one close friend, or even by yourself. To others, this might look like isolation, but in reality, it's emotional clarity. You know what kind of connection you want, and you're patient enough to wait for it. And when you do build relationships, they tend to be deep, loyal, and meaningful. Number 4, you have strong mental independence. One of the quiet strengths of people who spend time alone is independence of thought. When you are constantly surrounded by others, it's easy to absorb their opinions, beliefs, and expectations. But solitude gives your mind space to form its own perspective. Research on decision-making suggests that people comfortable with solitude are often less influenced by social pressure and groupthink. They think things through. They question popular opinions. They make decisions based on personal values rather than external approval. For example, if everyone around you believes something simply because it's popular, you're more likely to pause and ask, "Does this actually make sense?" You don't automatically follow the crowd. You analyze, you reflect, you choose your path carefully. This kind of mental independence can sometimes make you feel different from others, but it also protects you from blindly following trends, toxic group dynamics, or unhealthy expectations. It means your life decisions come from within, not from pressure around you. And over time, that becomes one of the most powerful forms of strength a person can have. So if you often find yourself alone, remember this. Solitude is not always a sign of weakness. Sometimes it means you are thinking deeply. Sometimes it means you are protecting your energy. Sometimes it means you are building a richer inner world than most people ever experience. And sometimes, it simply means you haven't settled for connections that don't truly fit you. The world often misunderstands quiet people, but quiet people are often the ones who observe the most, understand the most, and grow the most internally. So the next time you find yourself alone, instead of wondering what you're missing, consider what you might be developing: your awareness, your creativity, your depth, your independence. These strengths may not always be visible on the surface, but they shape the way you experience the world in powerful ways. And if this video helped you see your personality in a new light, make sure to subscribe for more psychology insights that help you better understand yourself and the hidden strengths of the human mind. Okay, my name is Helen. See you next time.